The war with Iran hinges on three letters, HEU, and it's believed Iran has enough of it underground to eventually make 10 nuclear bombs. What would it take for the U.S. to secure that highly enriched uranium? Tonight, you'll hear about a covert mission that took place 32 years ago and why a similar operation in Iran would be so difficult.
Would an operation like this be worth risking American lives?
In my opinion, yes.
It's Mama.
Tonight, the story of a mother who would not give up on her son after he was taken hostage by Hamas on October 7th, 2023.
I was always saying, I love you, stay strong, survive. I love you, stay strong, survive. I love you, stay strong, survive.
Was it a command to you as well?
Yes.
If you're a rock fan, you already know Stuart Copeland, acclaimed drummer for The Police. What you may not know is who or what he's making music with now.
That's a kookaburra.
Hundreds of animals turned into something wild.
You put an instrument with them, and those animals become Pavarotti.
I'm Leslie Stahl.
I'm Scott Pelley.
I'm Bill Whitaker.
I'm Sharon Alfonsi.
I'm John Wertheim.
I'm Cecilia Vega.
I'm Anderson Cooper. Those stories, and in our last minute, Chef Jose Andres with some food for thought tonight on 60 Minutes.
The fate of the war between Iran and America hangs on just three letters, HEU, highly enriched uranium, an essential ingredient for nuclear weapons. It's believed Iran currently has enough HEU to eventually make 10 atomic bombs, but international inspectors have not been allowed to verify Iran's stockpile since last June, when the U.S. and Israel struck 3 nuclear sites. Over the last 7 weeks of war, President Trump has insisted the U.S. will take whatever is left, whether with boots on the ground fighting their way in or striking a deal with the Iranian regime to allow scientists to safely secure the stockpile and bring it back to the United States. What you may not know, that option has been done before in a high-stakes mission that could become the blueprint for how to get HEU out of Iran.
It was a crazy time after the Soviet Union fell apart, and we knew that Iran was pursuing nuclear material throughout the region.
In 1994, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Andrew Weber was a young Foreign Service officer in the newly minted country of Kazakhstan, which held the 4th largest nuclear arsenal in the world. Left behind by the Soviets, part of it was sitting inside a factory.
We knew about the factory. We knew it had a purpose in the nuclear power sector. What we didn't know was that they had a cache of highly enriched uranium that was weapons usable.
It took several months, but using good old-fashioned diplomacy and a moose hunting trip, Weber built trust with the factory director. And one day, it paid off in the form of a note.
And I remember it was one of the first snows that day. And so we're walking in the courtyard, and he said, "Andy, I have a message from Vitaly," and he passed me this little note.
Let's see. This tiny little piece of paper he hands you. And it says, U-235, 90%, 600 kilograms. And that means what to you?
Dozens of nuclear weapons.
Uranium enriched to 90% is ready to be made into a bomb. The revelation made it all the way up to President Bill Clinton. Soon, both countries came to an agreement. The U.S. would take the stockpile to prevent countries like Iran and North Korea from getting a hold of it.
They could have just bought the 90% enriched uranium metal, and they would have been able to fabricate bombs very quickly out of it.
Weber became the point person for the operation codenamed Project Sapphire. He took these pictures with his own camera, showing canisters holding more than 1,300 pounds of the bomb-grade uranium. The only thing protecting them was a militia woman with a sidearm and
It was protected by a good padlock, sort of the kind you see in an antique shop.
How do you want us to taxi?
Project Sapphire was the first of its kind. 3 massive C-5 Galaxy cargo planes were dispatched to Kazakhstan, carrying 31 specialists from the Departments of Defense and Energy. The teams brought 450 drums built to transport nuclear cargo, strong enough to survive a plane crash. And the whole thing was covert, under the cover of a humanitarian mission.
It was all done in utmost secrecy. A team of over 30 people working for about 5 or 6 weeks to finish this packaging operation. It didn't leak, and nobody knew they were even there.
Every gram of HEU was secured and loaded onto rickety Soviet-era trucks.
And that night, there was black ice on the roads, and the trucks were sliding. That's when the material was most vulnerable. We didn't want the Iranians or organized criminal groups to know that the material was being transported. It was very important that nobody knew that we were going to be moving the material that snowy, cold night.
The planes were loaded up and the HEU was flown back to the United States, taken to a Department of Energy complex in Oak Ridge, Tennessee for safekeeping. Weber went on to become an Assistant Secretary of Defense responsible for nuclear deterrence.
From touchdown to takeoff, Project Sapphire took 6 weeks to remove more than 1,300 pounds of bomb-grade uranium from Kazakhstan. Would the same mission be possible today in Iran?
In Iran, we couldn't send a team in to do this unilaterally without great risk. You would need to set up in the middle of the country a secure perimeter. It would probably take thousands of U.S. troops to secure the facility while our experts excavated the HEU that's located inside deep tunnels at a place called Isfahan.
This is the Isfahan nuclear facility deep in Iran's desert. Under this mountain, international inspectors say most of Iran's HEU is stored in scuba tank-sized containers. It's believed those containers are in tunnels so far below ground, America's bunker-busting bombs may not be able to reach them. Satellite images show in the weeks leading up to this current war, the Iranians blocked the tunnel entrances with dirt. 2 weeks ago, images showed roadblocks. Nuclear analysts say it suggests Tehran is concerned about a U.S. or Israeli raid on the facility.
It's not like Iran hasn't thought about the possibility that we might do this, but U.S. Special Forces have been training for deep underground facilities of one kind or another for a long time.
Dr. Matthew Bunn is a former White House nuclear advisor who has spent decades trying to prevent nuclear material from falling into the wrong hands. From his perch at Harvard's Belfer Center, he monitors Iran's nuclear activity as best he can.
So what you can see from a satellite is what's going on the surface, right? But what you can't see is anything going on inside buildings, anything going on in other underground facilities.
President Trump has said repeatedly that Iran's nuclear program was completely obliterated after the strikes last June.
Yeah, that statement is just not true. You can't say that a program that still has enough nuclear material for a bunch of nuclear bombs is obliterated, unfortunately. There's no doubt that the combination of the strikes in June of last year and the ongoing war have seriously set back Iran's capabilities. But the remaining capabilities are substantial. You can't bomb away their knowledge.
UN inspectors believe Iran has close to 1,000 pounds of uranium enriched to 60%, nearly ready to be used in a nuclear weapon.
970 pounds of 60% highly enriched uranium. What can you do with that?
So that is enough material for, if you enrich it just a little bit more, for 10 to 11 nuclear bombs.
Nuclear analysts have become increasingly concerned about another site in Iran known as Pickaxe Mountain. Satellite images from February show an entrance to what's believed to be a massive nuclear facility deep under solid rock.
Can you bomb your way to Iran's stockpile and get it and remove it?
I don't think that there is a lasting, durable solution to Iran's nuclear program through military means.
Scott Roker was a top official in the NNSA, a $24 billion agency buried inside the Department of Energy. He left in 2021.
If there was a deal between the United States and Iran for the United States to take possession of that material, it would be the National Nuclear Security Administration that would lead that effort.
Roker used lessons learned from Project Sapphire to remove nuclear material from countries around the world and ship it to the U.S. for safekeeping. So far, the NNSA has removed more than 16,000 pounds of HEU.
There was agreement in place with the countries, and so that's a really key fact here. You want to have a willing partner who's working with you hand in hand.
Cooperation.
Exactly.
Can it be done without that?
I've never seen it done without that. Never in my experience have I seen that.
If your phone rang tomorrow and your former colleague said, hey, come back, we're going into Isfahan to package this up and get it out of the country, would you go?
I would go in a heartbeat.
This past week, President Trump said Iran agreed to hand over its stockpile, what he calls nuclear dust, as part of a deal to end the war. Hours later, the Iranians insisted their HEU was not going anywhere.
Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and we're going to get the dust back. We'll get it back either. We'll get it back from them or we'll take it.
Would an operation like this be worth risking American lives?
In my opinion, yes.
Retired Vice Admiral Robert Harward is a former Navy SEAL and Deputy Director of U.S. Central Command. He led elite special operations in the Middle East and says an operation in Iran could take many weeks and require a large footprint involving all the branches of the military.
It's high risk. You have to occupy territory, you have to confront, you have to force your way in. So all those risks are inherent in that operation, but we can do it.
It's been said troops would have to secure a full perimeter around any facility they'd enter. They might have to bring in their own bulldozers to clear rubble, maybe even build their own landing strip in order to pull this off as a successful operation.
That's what our military does. When we went into Afghanistan, we built a runway in the desert and we brought in C-17s.
What does concern Vice Admiral Harward is the weapons still available to Iran on today's battlefield.
The most prevalent threat is their abilities then to respond with drones, kinetic drones, maybe whatever's left in their inventory of missiles. That's your real threat to your time on the ground in the force.
Would you expect casualties in an operation like this?
Sure. You have to plan for that.
The fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran is set to expire on Wednesday. Dr. Matthew Bunn says any nuclear agreement should not be based on trust, but verification.
Iran has been lying about its nuclear weapons effort for over 20 years now. They have always claimed our program was 100% peaceful. We were never pursuing nuclear weapons. That's a lie. And then once the international inspectors got in and started finding some things out, the Iranians kept lying to them.
What specifically does the United States need Iran to commit to deal with its nuclear capabilities once and for all?
I think the most important thing is no highly enriched uranium and some in-depth monitoring, international monitoring. That's what's most essential. And it's going to be very difficult now, given all of the distrust following this war, following Trump pulling out of talks repeatedly to launch more strikes.
You don't sound very optimistic.
I'm not very optimistic. I think we're going to be dealing with Iran's nuclear program with very few realistic tools available to us for a long time to come.
Since Hamas launched a terror attack on Israel 2.5 years ago and the war in Gaza began, far too many mothers, Palestinian and Israeli, have lost children. This is one mother's story. Her name is Rachel Goldberg-Polin. She's an American Israeli who moved to Jerusalem 18 years ago with her husband John and their 3 children. Her only son, Hirsch, was badly wounded and taken hostage by Hamas on October 7th. Rachel and John worked tirelessly to bring Hirsch and the other hostages home, but on the 328th day of his captivity, Hirsch was executed in a tunnel in Gaza. Now, like so many others, Rachel Goldberg-Polin is trying to figure out how to live after her child has died.
To know that your child is being tortured, tormented, starved, abused, is maimed, and that's an excruciating form of suffering. And then what's so fascinating to me is that when they came to tell us that Hirsch had been executed, then I realized that those 330 days had been the good part, because he was alive. And now I'm in this place, and this is the rest of my life. How do I walk through this place without a piece of me here?
Have you figured that out yet?
I'm trying to re-understand what it means to be in this world. There are millions of us right now who have buried children. There's nothing unique about me, but it creates light for me to try to give words to the pain.
What was Hirsch like?
Easy.
Easy.
The universe really knew what it was doing when it said, Rachel's gonna have one son, so this is the one for her. I was really blessed.
Hirsch and his best friend, Aner Shapira, were at the Nova Music Festival near the Gaza border on the morning of October 7th when Hamas terrorists attacked. They slaughtered 378 people and wounded hundreds more.
What do you remember about the morning, October 7th?
The siren started, and I went and turned on my phone. And at 8:11, 2 messages had come in from Hirsch. The first one said, I love you. And the second one said, I'm sorry. And that was it. Everything that had ever happened in my life from the day I was born until that second was over.
Hirsch sent those texts from inside this bomb shelter crammed with more than 24 people. That's Hirsch against the wall and Aner near the entrance.
Hamas came to the doorway and was throwing in hand grenades. Aner was picking them up and throwing them out. Picking them up and throwing them out.
According to survivors, Aner threw back at least 10 grenades. When he was killed, others took his place. In all, 16 people were killed in the shelter. Hirsch survived, but was seriously wounded by a grenade.
There were 4 young men who were not able to hide under bodies. They were all wounded, and they were taken outside and put on a pickup truck and driven into Gaza. And that footage we saw for the first time when we talked with you.
We spoke on October 16th on CNN, you and John.
Our son, by all accounts of the witnesses, had his left arm blown off.
When John said that, I realized I'd seen their son being kidnapped. 4 days earlier at the Nova Festival site, Israeli soldiers showed me this gruesome video recovered from a terrorist's cell phone. That's Hirsch with the bone sticking out of his left forearm being forced into a pickup truck.
As soon as we got off, I said, I need to call you. But I still... To this day, I am sorry that is how you found out, that I was the one to tell you that there's this video.
But we were so thankful. And it made us know that he was taken alive, that he walked on his own 2 feet, And we also were really grateful that you did it in such a human way. In this sideways world, when we had the proof that he was kidnapped, that was actually good. The time is running out to save them. The time is running out to save all of us.
Rachel became, for many, the face of the hostage crisis, meeting the Pope, world leaders, and giving hundreds of interviews.
We want to save Hirsch's life. We want to save all of those hostages.
Every day, she wore a piece of tape. On it, she'd written the number of days since Hirsch and the other 250 hostages were taken.
I was always saying, I love you, stay strong, survive. I love you, stay strong, survive. I love you, stay strong, survive.
Was it a command to you as well?
Yes, because there were times when I would just get seized with emotional and psychological and physical pain. And I would keel over onto John. And I would just say, how much longer? How much longer? How much longer?
On the 201st day, Hamas posted this video of Hirsch.
And we see the stump of his arm.
It was a propaganda video.
Yes, and that gave us another bolt of adrenaline. Keep going, this child needs you. It's Mama.
On the 328th day, Rachel and John joined other hostage families, screaming their loved ones' names into a microphone towards Gaza. Rachel didn't know it then, but that was the day her son was murdered by Hamas.
We ended up finding out they killed him that day. And so I wonder, did he hear me?
Do you think he did?
I think there are other ways that you can hear your parents screaming for you, even if you don't hear them.
It was in this underground tunnel in Rafah on August 31st, 2024, Israeli soldiers found Hirsch's body. He and 5 other hostages had been executed. Hirsch was shot 6 times at close range. When his body was brought back to Israel, thousands lined the streets and attended his funeral.
Finally, my sweet boy, finally, you're free.
Rachel and John continued to advocate for the remaining hostages, but they were desperate for details about the last year of their son's life. Then, in February 2025, something remarkable happened. A hostage named Or Levy was released by Hamas along with 2 others. When Or was reunited with his family and 3-year-old son, he learned his wife, Einav, was killed on October 7th. He was also told Hirsch had been murdered.
It broke me, and I told my parents right away, I want to meet their parents.
It turned out Or had spent 3 days with Hirsch in a tunnel, and he says something Hirsch told him saved his life.
Seeing this guy without an arm, without a hand. And you know what he did? He laughed about it.
About his hand?
Yeah, he laughed about everything, and he smiled the entire time.
He wasn't broken?
No, he wasn't. Hirsch kept repeating this mantra. He who has a why can bear any how.
He who has a why can bear any how is a mantra Hirsch got from this book, Man's Search for Meaning, a 1946 concentration camp memoir by a survivor, Viktor Frankl, who'd adapted a similar saying by Friedrich Nietzsche.
It became our mantra.
Everybody there.
Everybody there.
That idea that if you have a why, you can survive.
You can do anything.
Soon after he was freed, Or got Hirsch's mantra tattooed on his arm.
My son, he asked me, what does it say? He doesn't speak English. And I just laughed and I said, your name.
Your name. Because that's your why.
This is my why. The only reason why I survived was him.
What was Hirsch's why?
I asked Or that, and he said, he went like this. You. It was this shocking, life-affirming CPR from beyond to have Hirsch through Or telling us, what's your why going to be? because you can bear this, even losing me, you could do it. And so part of what I'm trying so hard to do now is to figure out what is my why.
Rachel was told something else by Orr that gave her tremendous comfort.
He said, it's important that you know that he told me that my mother spoke to the Secretary of State in the U.S.
Hershey told him that.
Yeah, and I said, he heard on the news I had spoken to the Secretary of State, and he said, no, he heard you on the news. And it was like all of a sudden, thank God. First of all, that he heard my voice, and that he knew we are nobodies. We are absolute nobodies. I even say the equivalent of John Doe in the Jewish world is Rachel Goldberg. But we tried so hard, and he knew.
When we met Rachel in Jerusalem in February, days before the new war with Iran, she'd recently finished writing a book called When We See You Again, which comes out this week.
You wrote in the book, people want hope, resilience, recovery, strength, survival, healing. They want thriving and rising from the ashes like the phoenix from the days of yore. But the pain is chronic, ever-present, constant, gnawing, circular, not linear. That's how it feels.
That's how it feels. Now, I'm open to it feeling different.
Have you noticed a change?
I think my understanding of grief has changed. I was dreading and uncomfortable with grief. And recently I had this whole different thought of maybe grief is actually just this precious badge of love that you wear because someone has died and your love is continuing to grow.
When the body of the last hostage was returned this past January, it had been 843 days since the October 7th attack. Rachel and John finally took down the pieces of tape their family had worn and stuck on a wall in their apartment.
That's the day we buried Hirsch. So many lives, so many innocent lives on both sides, lost.
Rachel has kept Hirsch's room as he left it.
And that's the tape that we took down.
Oh my gosh. It's extraordinary
Yeah.
to see all the pain and everything that is in that ball.
You know, it's like these symbols of failure. What we were fighting for did happen. We got all of these people home, not as we wanted. We wanted them home alive, but they had come home.
You said these are all symbols of failure. Do you think you failed?
Yeah.
You did more than anybody could possibly do.
It's true. And sometimes 100% is not enough.
If you're a rock and roll fan, you already know Stuart Copeland. Drumming legend Copeland, Andy Summers, and a guy named Sting romped to global stardom as the Police in the 1970s. So we were intrigued to learn that Copeland had teamed up with celebrated naturalist Martin Stewart for a pioneering album, sharing the limelight not with Sting, but with hyenas, owls, and howler monkeys. Called Wild Concerto, the album is based on Martin Stewart's life work, an extraordinary collection of audio recordings of the world's living creatures. Some are now extinct or endangered, making Wild Concerto as much a manifesto as a music album. We had to hear more. There's really only one way to start the day at the world's most famous recording studio.
Martin, in the flesh at
How are
last.
you?
So great to see you. We've been so deep into our mission here.
Martin Stewart, Stuart Copeland. This unlikely pair, the quiet naturalist and the intrepid rock star,
I hope you have fun with this music.
were here at Abbey Road to turn animal sounds into a concerto, here in the same studio the Fab Four made famous. No pressure.
Unbelievable. The history in here is just...
Imagine McCartney running up and down those stairs. This almost makes us Beatles.
But today, it's the animal kingdom that gets its shot at stardom. It's superstar time for the wrens, bears, frogs, and hundreds more.
That's the kookaburra.
While the humans play backup.
That's the wonga pigeon.
Even better, we're good.
Brilliant. Let's move on.
Wild Concerto is a groundbreaking album based on the unmatched audio archive of Martin Stewart. He's crisscrossed the planet for decades, collecting nearly 100,000 recordings of its wild inhabitants. Stuart Copeland wrote the music.
When you send me your original raw samples,
All he had to do was wade through 30,000 hours of field recordings to choose which animals would get the star treatment. The screaming pia was a natural.
there is the bird in question. Here is the orchestral version of that bird.
It's just brilliant.
Copeland told us it was the raw sounds of the animals themselves that dictated what instruments he chose. Take this tune by some Arctic wolves.
First of all, we have the wolves on their own. Beautiful, right?
Still makes my hair stand on end.
Okay, let's hear that with the orchestra. That's a trombone with the wolves. They're not actual notes, but you put an instrument with them, and those animals become Pavarotti.
In the recording studio, the wolves howled into the musicians' headsets.
Yep, we got it. I'm gonna come out there, kiss and hug every single one of you. So pucker up, babies. Thank you so much, everybody. You rock!
Copeland should know. You may remember his rock star days when he wielded drumsticks as if they were lethal weapons. As 1/3 of the Police, Copeland banged his way to the upper reaches of pop stardom. The Police sold more than 75 million records. Singing along yet? By 1986, the party was over. The Police were busted. But it didn't take long before Copeland's propulsive drumming landed him a new gig and put him on a glide path to becoming a composer.
How did that happen?
I blame Francis Coppola.
It's his fault. You blame him.
Yes. His thing is to find the talent and give him rope. And he got a drummer from a rock band and hired me to score his movie because his concept was it's all about rhythm.
This is Rumblefish?
This is Rumblefish.
Copeland told us he knew nothing about film scores, but he knew rhythm. So he arranged barking dogs, clacking billiard balls, and pile drivers in rhythmic loops, making music for what he called found sound.
For horror films, this here is very useful.
More movies followed. Then he started writing classical music.
This here, it's for an opera that I did with the Deutsche National Theater in Germany.
Copeland told us he'd found a new love.
Because the main thing you want to do as a composer is create parts that are fun to play.
As he showed us around his Los Angeles studio stuffed with instruments. He says he noodles around on them all when he's composing. The drummer, who had never followed a sheet of music, had become a maestro.
You loved the drums right from the start. The power. What is it about the orchestra you love so much?
It's the beauty. You know, my daddy raised me to be a jazz musician. Meanwhile, just quietly, my mother was playing Stravinsky, Ravel, Debussy, and that hit me emotionally. Now I've got dun 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 wah, and I've got, like, in one ear I got Jimi Hendrix, and the other ear I've got Igor Stravinsky. And so they've always both kind of been there, interacting in my brain.
We will hear these sounds in Wild Concerto.
Yeah, as well as all these.
And these. A world away, different music was pouring into the ears of Martin Stewart. He's been eavesdropping on nature now for more than 60 years. It started when he was 11. Armed with a tape recorder, he'd escaped to the Bluebell Woods near his home in Middle England. His first recordings, this Eurasian blackbird. What started as a boyhood lark became a career with a mission.
I always believe the reason I'm on this planet is to fight for the animals and the environment. And it's kind of my rent for being here. I feel empowered to kind of give that message.
And what is that message?
We're losing some of the most precious species on Earth. I can go back to places that have been monitored over a period of 20 years, and the change is significant. And audio's done that. Audio is the barometer of the planet. If you want to know the health of the stream or the river, the dipper will tell you. The frog will tell you the health of the marsh, and the birds will tell you the health of the planet.
At home in Florida, Stewart told us he still takes his microphone out every day, like a doctor with a stethoscope.
Watch the spiders, Bill.
He listens to the rhythms of the natural world.
I hear that white noise of the ocean, the cicada.
These days, he's deeply worried about a catastrophic decline in wildlife populations around the world. Stewart has the last known recording of the golden Panamanian frog, here in its digital form. The northern white rhino is also extinct in the wild. Other recordings give no hint of the danger he overcame to get them. Here's a howler monkey spoiling for a fight. And the crocodile that swallowed one of his microphones.
We have the hyenas here.
Stuart Copeland told us his favorite animal was the hyena, a rare recording from the Skeleton Coast in Namibia.
Well, they have a very wide vocabulary. They make loving sounds, they make aggressive sounds.
How does the loving sound sound like? That's interesting.
In fact, I'll share with you that my wife and I have adopted the hyena love sounds as a part of our relationship. Little kinky, but works. And then they have the laughing hyena. They actually do.
No surprise, the hyenas got their own cut on Wild Concerto.
How did you come up with a composition that enhanced the sound of the hyenas?
I've asked the Lord above that question many times.
And what did he say?
He said, I don't know, just see if you can make a living out of it.
Just be you. This is just magic. It's magical.
Martin Stewart told us working at Abbey Road was a revelation. He's used to being alone in wild spaces at the ends of the earth. So we wondered what had made Stewart share his life work with a rock star.
What made you decide to do that?
I'm living with cancer. It's hard to talk about that stuff, Bill. But I got ill. And my niece Amanda, who works at the BBC, and she said, we have to preserve your archive. You need people to see what you have.
Stewart told us his illness is not the only crisis he's dealing with. He fears more animals are facing extinction as the world keeps growing. Part of his audio archive has become a mausoleum to past lives.
If we keep stealing from nature, then the inevitable is going to happen. We're going to lose a lot more.
What is the inevitable?
Mass extinction. When you think about what we've lost in my lifetime, there's no change.
It's not slowing down.
And I don't know how to slow it down. But if you show people the beauty of something and get them to fall in love with that, maybe we can tip something.
He says he hopes Wild Concerto will draw in those who wouldn't otherwise listen to a screaming pia or a go-away bird. Count Copeland among the converted.
Okay, what's the walla 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 walla? Here we go. What's that? Walla 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 walla.
Which is the marbled frog mouth.
Marbled frog mouth. I remember that.
Copeland told us he hopes Wild Concerto will immortalize those animal songs, a human tribute, a heartfelt elegy to Mother Nature's orchestra.
Take a tour through Stuart Copeland's studio
Sting gave me this little guitar here.
at 60minutesovertime.com. The last minute of 60 Minutes is sponsored by United Healthcare. Coverage you can count on for your whole life ahead.
Chef Jose Andres was born in Spain and became an American citizen in 2014. His relief organization, World Central Kitchen, has served 600 million meals to people in need. We asked Jose Andres, how does food fit into America's story?
America is a food nation, founded as a land of longer tables, where everybody is welcome. But food is more than our traditions. It is also our future. The strength of America depends on how we feed ourselves, but also how we feed the world, how we care for the people who grow, harvest, and cook our food, and how we make sure no child goes hungry. It's our responsibility as the richest nation in history to feed the hungry and care for the poor. It's our legacy. It's our destiny. In our worst moments, the best of America shows up at our long table and reminds us who we are. We, the people. Only then, food becomes hope.
I'm Anderson Cooper. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.